This may surprise you. Spider-Man Brand New Day comes out in like 6 months.
Man.
It's really only about 6 months away now. We're in January, comes out in July. And I don't know, considering that the last Spider-Man film came within a breath and a half of joining the $2 billion club, it made a lot of money. I don't know that I can recall such a major blockbuster sneaking up on us like this one is, because all the attention in the world, understandably so, has been laser focused on something that comes out months after it in Avengers Doomsday. We've certainly talked a lot more about Avengers Doomsday around here, but this movie's coming out in like 6 months. And again, to remind everybody, the last one made nearly $2 billion. The last one is literally one of the highest grossing films in history. And yet it's sneaking up on us in just 6 months. Couple of interesting things that I want to cover. A couple of angles here about Spider-Man. One is I want us to talk a little bit about why is it under the radar for us? Why? I mean, yeah, of course we're all aware of it. Whenever we talk about what are going to be some of the biggest films of 2026, sure, Spider-Man Brand New Day gets mentioned, but why is it so flying under the radar? But also something kind of interesting just came out in the news. The good folks over at Cinema Blend have wrote this interesting little rumor about what's coming out. But again, it's coming to us from Dana Rickman. It says this: what we know about Spider-Man Brand New Day is super limited, so fans have been filling in the blanks with rumors and theories about what might be coming. Folks are particularly curious about how the narrative will continue after No Way Home's ending, which saw the entire world, including MJ and Ned, lose their memories of Peter Parker. A report by Scooper Daniel Richtman claims that MJ will have a new love interest as a result, and that he might be played by Ahsoka actor Iman Isfandi, who of course plays Ezra Bridger. By the way, I didn't like Ahsoka very much. He was really good. He was really good. I do love that character because I'm a big fan of Rebels. Anyway, this is interesting to me for a couple of reasons. One is because if true, and we're just going to discuss this assuming that it's true, but it very well may not be. You got to take this one with a grain of salt. But for the sake of the discussion, if true, this is interesting for a couple of different reasons. One, because I don't think I've ever heard anybody bring up the possibility that she may have moved on. Like, we're all thinking about, okay, she's going to be there and it's going to be about Peter trying to get her back. But a lot of us have not considered the possibility that she's a beautiful girl living in New York. She's got Tinder too. She gets into a relationship with somebody else. I think that's fascinating and adds a new wrinkle. And does it bring up the whole thing of Spider-Man having to look at her from a distance saying, damn it, she's happy. I'm just going to let her be happy. You know, maybe that becomes a part of it.
That's great drama too for him.
Great drama. It creates great character, moral complications for him. What's the ethical thing for him to do? What's the moral high ground? All that kind of stuff. I think that's really offers some really cool opportunities. The second interesting thing about that, of course, is bringing him on in from Ahsoka, which again, I thought he did a really, really good job in that. And it would be interesting to see him as the love interest there too. So there's that. Anyway, Rob, let's focus our Spider-Man discussion on this right now. Number one, as in all the rumor stuff, the question is, do you believe this rumor? And number two, assuming it's true for a second, what would you think about this?
Well, I mean, look, you're always looking to up the stakes. And one of the things you can always up the stakes with in Spider-Man movies is the personal stakes. That's what Spider-Man is. Spider-Man is the most grounded of all. He's not a god. He's not an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's not a billionaire. He's just a kid. Now he's a young adult.
Who can lift tanks over his head.
Yeah, well, you can lift tanks over his head, but he's still, at his core, you know, he's a kid. He's a normal person. And he has normal people. I mean, he was in high school up until recently. And I think it's going to be heartbreaking for the audience and heartbreaking for the character to watch somebody, but Zendaya, not just MJ, but also Nate. I mean, his good friend doesn't know him either. And so he's looking at the two most important people in his life, his close friends, his confidants. They don't know him, leaving him totally alone. And there's no way he can walk up to them and go, look, we used to be friends. They don't know him at all. I mean, I'm curious to see how they would deal with MJ's hole in her. Did you have any boyfriends in high school, MJ? Huh, let me think about that. No. But that makes for great drama. And there's an ethical problem for Peter. Like, he can't just go up there and say, but we were friends, so we can just be friends again. You can't do that. So that's a huge problem for him. And yet he's going to long for his love. He's going to long for his friend, and he can't go get those things. So that is a great problem for a main character in a movie to have. It suddenly becomes a personal problem. And at the same time, whatever shenanigans are happening in the outside world with supervillains or the Punisher or Dr. Banner or whatever's going on there is also a problem. But it gives him personal stakes. It gives him neighborhood stakes, worldwide stakes, and it just gives us, the audience, to have more opportunity to have a great story told that we're gonna feel it. And I'm looking forward to that because they've brought the stakes back down and made them, I think, more personal than ever for Peter Parker. And I love that.
I'm going to throw this out there. I'm just going to throw it out there. There is one thing a lot of people are overlooking too. While Zendaya's character's name may be MJ, her character's name is not Mary Jane Watson.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying that to suggest we're going to meet the real Mary Jane Watson in this movie, or that Sadie Sink may be playing Mary Jane Watson. I'm just reminding everybody that while the character's initials of Zendaya are MJ, her character's name is not Mary Jane Watson. So, I mean, maybe they could I doubt they would do that, but it is a possibility. So let's shift the discussion here just for a second to this. We are living in a movie fandom right now that is, for many, many good reasons, very laser focused on Doomsday. So much about it. It's going to be the biggest film of the year. It's going to be awesome, I think. But we've got this Spider-Man movie coming out in 6 months. Like literally, we're within a reasonable amount of time now that the legitimate marketing campaign could start for it at this point. We are 1 month away from the Super Bowl. We've already heard reports about a big Endgame trailer. I have zero doubts. I don't know this for a fact. I'm just saying personally as a fan, I have zero doubts that we are going to get a spectacular, no pun intended, spectacular Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer. Yeah. And when it drops, it's not going to tell us much about the plot, but we're going to get glimpses of Hulk, and we're going to get glimpses of Punisher, and we're going to get glimpses of Sadie Sink, especially now it timing up with the finale of Stranger Things just having aired and been the biggest New Year's Day thing that Netflix has ever aired. So I think there's a lot. So guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, PrizePicks. Whether you're starting a new routine or making player picks for the very first time, trying something new can be tough. But on PrizePicks, it just feels great when your sports takes are right. With big playoff matchups happening every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never really stops, and PrizePicks lets you take control. Ann and I both tried out PrizePicks a while ago, and we were honestly surprised by how simple it was to get started. I put my first lineup together in just minutes, and it genuinely made watching the games with my friends more fun because we were following our player projections all night, cheering for more or less. And there's a couple of features I really love. PrizePicks now has early payouts, so if your player gets off to a hot start, you can have the option to cash out before the game even finishes. And the new social feeds feature lets you share your prize picks with friends or even copy winning lineups with one click. Plus, if you like flexibility, you can choose Flex Play, or if you want the biggest potential prizes, go with Power Play. So download the PrizePicks app today and use the code Campea to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Campea to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Rob, let me ask you this. What are you expecting out of Spider-Man and its marketing campaign it's built up over the next couple of months? But more specifically, why do you think it is that this next sequel to one of the largest films in the history of cinema, an almost $2 billion film, is kind of flying under the radar for a lot of us right now? Why do you think that is?
Well, that's a good question. I think that this Spider-Man movie is going to be the last time that the MCU is going to be able to make the kind of Spider-Man movie that it can. Because if you think about it, Spider-Man Brand New Day has become, it wasn't going to be this at first because they moved release dates.
Yeah, just to remind everybody, don't forget, Doomsday originally was supposed to come out before Spider-Man Brand New Day, which really adds an interesting wrinkle to all this.
This is the last movie of, at least the way I see it, based on what's happening, this is the last MCU movie in its current incarnation. Because we're then beginning a cycle where the MCU is going to irrevocably change into something else. And there's going to be the board's going to change. And by definition, they've told us we're getting Avengers Doomsday that leads into Secret Wars. And if you know what happens in Secret Wars, you know the entire universe gets changed. So everything, all bets are off. So it will be the last movie of the current MCU that we have known and loved since 2008. And I think that's why it's important. I want to see what they're doing because they since they changed release dates and they've been shooting this movie because they didn't finish shooting this movie until fairly recently, so they've been able to, I'm sure, figure out ways to caress this into what's happening in Doomsday. And I find that interesting for that reason alone. That I think that the core tenets, like everything that they've ever wanted the MCU to be, you're going to get in a way, because they're not trying to build off of anything in this. They're going to give us a pure superhero experience unto itself. And that in this movie, we're going to see Spider-Man in its purest form. Before, remember, you always talked about, why does Tony Stark have to be this mentor? Why is Spider-Man always wearing armor? We've had that from the beginning.
Why does Marvel not think Spider-Man is cool enough to just be Spider-Man?
Yes. And this is the first time that they've been able to do that because nobody knows who he is. He doesn't have Tony Stark. He doesn't have armor. He's got his own stone.
Doesn't have Doctor Strange.
Doesn't have Aunt May. Has nothing. He has nothing except himself. Except himself. This is going to be, I think, the purest Spider-Man movie that the MCU has given us. And for that alone, and you know what? Having the Hulk, having the Punisher, that goes right back to the comics. There's a long tradition in the comics over the last 40 years of Spider-Man interacting with those characters. And I think that what we're going to get, I think this movie is going to be a lot more fun than we're expecting it to be. Because it's like, oh, it's so depressing. I don't think it's going to be depressing. I think it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. And the MCU is going to, because they can do anything they want.
Yeah.
They can do anything they want. And I think that's why it's something to be excited about. And they've flown under the radar because people don't have any expectations. They're like, what's going to happen? We don't know.
And by the way, I mean, most people know this, but let's put it into a context here. In the long, excruciating, pointless journey that was Chair Watch, I want to point out 3 names that were not on any chairs. Tom Holland, John Bernthal, and Mark Ruffalo. None of those names appeared in Chair Watch. And I am not purporting, absolutely not, that we know anything that happens in Spider-Man. We don't. We're as much in the dark about anybody else. But it is very, I think, not coincidental, Rob, that these 3 prime lead names are all names that are not mentioned at all in Doomsday. And I think that's not insignificant. I think there's a significance to that will play out, that maybe we get a hint of when the trailers start dropping, maybe not. I don't know. What's your thought about all that?
Oh, I agree. Other than agreeing with you, I would say yes. I think that it's very significant that those 3 names are not part of Chair Watch, and I would expect, yeah. Well, yeah. Let's just leave it at that.
Anyway, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about these 2 fundamentally different questions? Number one, this report going around, whether it's to be believed or not, that when we meet up in the world of Spider-Man again, Zendaya is going to have a new love interest, and it might be our guy Ezra Bridger from Ahsoka. Secondly, I think it's pretty much non-debatable that Spider-Man has kind of been flying a little bit under the radar. Is it just because all the attention's on Doomsday? Why hasn't it been getting more attention? And what are you expecting out of the movie? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.